everyone on Facebook.
Hey.
Happy Wednesday. Carol and Lavinia with you. Joined in the studio by Cathy Livingston. She is, what can I say, Cathy? Such a ray of sunshine on the bright side. So you're going to add some color and light to the show today. We're talking about equine therapy. Very interesting topic. And we're hopping live on air in just a few moments. Hang tight. CC Peniston, and finally here on 1FM 91.3. Good morning to you and welcome to the Brightside. You're hanging out with Carol and Lavinia. Joined in the studio this morning by Cathy Livingston. She's a Singapore-based counselor and psychotherapist for youth and adults. And she's also certified in trauma-focused equine-assisted psychotherapy. So welcome, Cathy. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Hey, so equine therapy, something very unusual. Tell us more about it. What exactly does it entail?
Okay. Well, equine or equine. I'm not really sure how you pronounce it. Some say equine, some say equine. Either way, it means horse, right? So equine-assisted therapy is basically, well, for what I do, it's incorporating a horse into a counseling session.
Wow.
So, I think most people have heard of equine-assisted therapies as like with the people with disabilities. So that's one form. But what I do, because I'm a therapist, it's for mental health, emotional health, and it's incorporating a horse and into the session. And so my sessions are done out at Singapore Polo Club, and I partner with a horse, and clients build a relationship with that horse.
Wow.
Do these horses, are they specially selected, for the therapy process? They have to have a certain demeanor, or how does the session actually play out?
Yeah. They're not, I would not say they're trained specifically for this, but when I go out there, so the riding academy at the Polo Club, I have a contract with them where I will use their what is it called? The riding academy. Sorry, it's early. The brain is not. The riding academy horses. And so what I have done is I've gone out there and spent time with the horses. So typically I'm looking for a horse that wants to participate. And you can tell that because they'll come up to you. If they go to the back of the stable and really want nothing to do with you, clearly this isn't something they want to do.
Yeah.
So, I'm looking for a horse that is relational, that will come up, that of course is not going to bite or kick, that's not too much, full of energy that's going to hurt us when we take it out. So these are the things that I'm looking for. But other than that, we go with what the horse gives us,
Why are horses great for therapy?
Because there's many reasons. It's funny, my brain just went, oh my gosh, I know it's
the answer is somewhere in there.
The answer is in there, but because there's so many reasons. I think first off, they're prey animals, and so they live in herds, right? Typically, out in the wild, that's what they're kind of created as is herd animals. Therefore, they're very intuitive to what's going on all around them, very sensitive to that. And so when we're talking about working with individuals, they can read things incredibly well because they have to for survival. So they can read inside of a person, things that I would not be able to see in a counseling session, a horse will react and respond to out at the stables. And it comes up for therapeutic conversations. And so they're constantly giving feedback, I guess is what I'm trying to say, to everything going on with me, with my client. They don't know who the client is, they're just responding. Of course, they're big, so that already kind of causes a little bit of maybe a little bit of anxiety. That's good because that's what we can work with in the sessions with the client, and it helps them to build trust. So I work with a lot of trauma, and in trauma we lose trust, right? So to connect with this big, huge animal helps a client build trust, to regulate their own anxieties and fears. Another thing is a horse's heart rate is about resting is about 32 beats per minute. And so, ours at a good resting maybe is in the 60s. So it co-regulates with the client. So they are, if you're the horse and I'm with you, and it can help me to bring my heart rate down, my nervous system down.
So it calms you down.
Oh, definitely.
Quite naturally.
And horses are very, I could go on and on, but you're like, let me ask another question.
I do. Yeah.
But they're also very rhythmic. And so with rhythm, our brain regulates. And so if you just sit and watch a horse eat grass, so sometimes we just go out and we'll just graze the horse, and that rhythm of their mouth just chewing in a rhythmic pattern, our brains will start to regulate with that rhythm, which of course helps our whole nervous system.
So does every session involve the client getting on a horse and riding or walking with it? No, sometimes you could just be like standing there beside it.
Yeah. So for what I do, it's not typically riding. It is what we call groundwork.
Okay.
And it's all about connection with self. So we're always looking inward, what's going on inside of me, somatic work, physiology work, and what's going on with my connection with the horse, and then how does that translate into my relationship with others.
Wow.
Because so especially in trauma, but one of the sayings is we are damaged in relationship, we are healed in relationship. So a vehicle for change is relationship. So they're building a secure attachment with this horse.
That's lots to think about.
This is
to
mind-blowing.
break
Very
down as
chim.
well. Yeah. And I'm sure we're just at the tip of the iceberg as well. Hey, join us on Facebook Live this morning, facebook.com/91.3. Going to be chatting more with Cathy in just a bit. Keep it right here.
1FM 91.
Hello.
Hey everyone, how's it going?
Welcome to Facebook Live.
Yeah, and in the studio today we've got Cathy Livingston. She's a Singapore-based counselor as well as psychotherapist for the youth and adults, certified in trauma-focused equine, how
Either
we want to
one.
pronounce it. Yep, assisted psychotherapy.
It's funny. Yeah, sorry. It's funny you say equine because equine is the American pronunciation.
Usually I say equine, but I think because you said equine, I wanted to go opposite. Equine. I don't know why I did that.
I think you were the one who told me it was called equine therapy.
I probably did.
I heard it from the horse's mouth.
We need to get the horse in to
Yeah.
what
What
would you like
are
to be
you?
called?
Yeah, exactly.
But from what you just shared on air about the whole process of involving the horses in your therapy, it feels almost as if not only do you have to read your client, the patients that you're dealing with their therapy, but also the horses, because you say that the horses give a lot of signals. They are sensitive to a lot of things that are going on in the session. So how is that like? Because you're like,
Yeah, it's exhausting.
oh,
But, I grew up with horses, so I feel like, but I will say I've kind of had to unlearn and relearn, because traditionally when you talk about horses, it's about control your horse, as a rider, control your horse.
Okay.
This is about consent from the horse. The horse always has choices, just like I'm hoping to help the person to have choices. And so I forgot your question now. Oh, reading both. I typically in equine-assisted therapy, there's two people. There's an equine professional and there's a mental health professional. So I am certified, I'm dual certified as both. So I'm doing both at the same time. And I'm sure I miss a lot. But I think because I do spend a lot of time with the horses that I work with, I can pick up on what they're saying. And so, that's very important. Like I said previously on air, is that I can tell if a horse is saying no, I don't want to go out. I don't want to be with this person, whatever it may be, and we want to respect that.
So
The
what
horse
if
has a
someone
choice.
turns up for a therapy session and, there's a day that the horse doesn't quite feel like he's up for a therapy session? What do you do?
That gives us stuff to work with. How does that impact a client? A lot of times it's, they don't like me, I feel rejected. And of course, that's a huge thing to talk about is rejection. Are there other times in your life you feel rejected? So it brings up a whole conversation there, a therapeutic conversation. And we may just sit down in front of the stable And actually, this is another thing. The horse is looking for authenticity or congruence. If a person is not congruent, in other words, if what I'm saying does not match what's going on inside, a horse knows it.
Wow.
And that's fear. I mean, they'll get scared. They're flight animals. I mean, or they'll just ignore, they'll go away because they feel safe with congruence. So it's also helping people to, wait a minute, you're saying this, but inside, I mean, it feels like, you're a lot of anxiety or you're insecure or this or that. And they'll say, once they become congruent and say, yeah, I'm actually feeling this, then you'll see, a lot of times you'll see a horse respond.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how does a horse kind of like react? So let's say it's detecting that you're not being very congruent with your feelings or your emotions. How does it react? Does it back away? Does it kind of snort at you?
Usually, because what we do is what we call at liberty most of the time, which means that a lot of times we are just leading the horse, but then a lot of times it's loose in the arena. And so it will just stay away. It will dissociate. It will go away. It will do its own thing. Or if it's in the stable, it might go to the back of the stable and not walk towards you. So we don't go in and just invade its space, and come here, love me,
Oh, we don't do that?
Yeah, that's not how it works.
It's not. I mean, we can, but there's one horse I always try to hug. She hates hugs. I mean, I'll try and kiss her on the nose. It's my favorite thing to do. And
she's like, nope.
She's just she's not a cuddler. Oh. And she'll you can just see it. Her ears will kind of go back and she's like, oh my gosh, leave me alone.
How does that make you feel?
Oh, thanks for asking.
Let's have our own little therapy session.
You could come be my assistant.
Any day, I'm up for it. I used to go to the polo club actually as a kid with my best friend to swim, of all things.
Right.
Because they got a pool there.
They do.
But it would
It's a
be
great
by
place.
it would be by the stables, close to the stables, and
Yeah.
we would go and play with the horses. And they would just come up to you. They want to be pet, and it'd be like nibbling at your little fingers
Yeah,
sometimes.
obviously. This horse that she speaks of that is not a hugger was not there at that point.
Yeah.
Well, she probably was because she's the oldest one out there.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah, she was avoiding you guys. Like,
Unless you have a treat.
What's her name?
Mimo.
Mimo.
oh, I like that.
Not the fish Nemo, but Mimo.
Mimo. So it's always Mimo that you work with.
Not always. I have about 5 that I use or partner with. We don't say use. We say partner with.
Because they're co-therapists.
Well, yeah, in a sense, but they're still a horse.
Yeah.
But a horse is a horse, of course. Did you guys have Mr. Ed, that show here in Singapore?
I think not. No.
Okay.
I don't think it was a thing.
It was a talking horse.
Oh, yeah. I know of it, though. Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Sorry.
is there a Mr. Ed in the stables?
I stumped you guys. You're like,
Is there a Mr. Ed we can work with?
there's not.
Hey, so are horses the only creatures that you can work with? What about dogs? Have you ever thought of expanding your repertoire of
I
animals?
have. So I'll give a shout out to Possibility that does pet assisted therapy with using dogs, clinical, therapy. And actually, I've been a counselor there, a therapist there in the past, and it's great. So they have 3 dogs that they use in their sessions and partner with. It's retraining myself, right?
Yep.
So dogs are great, but dogs are predators, horses are prey. So you're going to get a different response from them. But of course, dogs are very intuitive as well. They pick up on things.
Yeah.
But to me, dogs love you no matter what. They're just like, oh, hello. But then in the sessions, they'll respond, and it brings up all kinds of things you can talk about as well.
Okay. Well, tell us more on air. We're about to jump back live. What's this group name again? Positivity.
Possibility.
Possibility with a P-A-W?
that.
Yes. P as in, woof, woof, pause.
Awesome.
Carol wants
Yeah.
to take her dog.
I think Cooper has a good temperament, although, his calmness might also be bored.
Oh, you're going to get him to work for himself.
Yeah.
Earn your keep.
He needs to pay
Exactly.
rent.
That's Jerry Hallowell with Lift Me Up, and I think a lot of uplifting happening here in the studio with our guest for this morning, Cathy Livingston, Singapore-based counselor and psychotherapist for youth and adults, especially with equine-assisted psychotherapy. Very, very interesting indeed. We had such a fun chat on our Facebook Live. Join us back there in just a second as well. We carry on with more questions for Cathy. First up, what kind of issues can be addressed with this form of therapy with the horses,
Right. Well, I'm trained in trauma-focused equine-assisted therapy. So I work with a lot of trauma, but depression, anxiety, attachment injuries. So, a lot of us have grown up where we don't have a secure attachment, and it's affecting our adult relationships. And so, I think I mentioned it earlier, we're working on building a secure attachment with that horse. And so I think it really brings a lot of healing and learning how to trust and to connect. Because connection is a felt sense. I can feel if I'm connected to Carol, for instance. I can feel when I'm not. And so we're constantly working on attachment with connection, even detachment with connection. Sorry, I'm going off your question here, but meaning that I can, when we're insecure in our attachments, if I'm detached, I'm freaking out. Oh my gosh, they don't love me. They have another best friend, all this stuff. Yeah. But detachment with connection is that I can be detached but still have a felt sense of connection.
Oh, that's very important because especially in this day and age of social media, we tend to associate likes with connection.
Yeah.
People like me, people want me. And when we don't get that, then it's not okay. We don't feel right about ourselves in this world.
Yeah.
So are the sessions for kids and adults similar or different?
They're quite similar. I'm trying to think. So I don't work with people probably below the age of 11, I would guess, just because I'm on my own and the younger kids are more of a handful. So, but I will give another shout out to there are other equine therapy programs out there that do work with younger kids. One is Theris, Theris. The Herd is another one. So
I like that name, the
Yeah.
Herd.
Yeah.
I can see how that would be helpful for children, for young children,
Yeah,
trying to
for
work
sure.
through issues as well. Because horses are such beautiful creatures, and
They're
it takes them outside
amazing.
of the conventional four walls as well.
And just to be outside, right?
Yeah.
I mean, some people are like, "Oh, it's so hot," and it is. I mean, that's one of the struggles. It's stinking hot, but but it's okay. You bring water, and you just sweat a lot, but.
But you're working on yourself, so that's okay.
Yeah, it is. And I think when you're out there, you don't even think about the heat because you're just engaging with this amazing animal. And whether it's, I mean, sometimes it's honestly too hot to go out. To me, animal welfare is very important to me. So is a horse going to be okay? And, so like yesterday, I remember I had a session where we just stayed in the stable all day and we massaged the horse. And, it's like, how can I give back to something?
Wow.
Can I look at how my partner, what do we call the horse? What do we call it? A horse.
Co-therapist.
My horse is responding to me. What do they like? What do they not? I'm being aware. I mean, that helps in regards to relationship, right? And communication. I mean, everything, of course, is nonverbal because a horse isn't going to talk back. If it does, then we have other issues to deal with. But right. But it's all nonverbal, and there is a statistic, and I'm not sure of what it is, but about 80%, I'm just going to throw it out there, don't quote me, but about 80% of our language is nonverbal, right? So we're giving off this energy all the time, and the horse is responding to that, but everything is nonverbal.
If only we had a horse around with us every time we met new people.
That's an idea there.
You could get a mini.
Yeah.
Ooh.
About the size of Cooper.
But I suppose that's why people say that about
Hey,
their dogs,
equestrian
right?
mixer.
I know, but if your dog doesn't like, you say your partner or your friend, says a lot.
It does, doesn't
Yeah.
it?
Oh my gosh, that's another area I could go into.
There we go.
We need to go into that area.
But I mean, off air, we're talking about how you actually do work with dogs as well for therapy. Tell us more about that again. Oh, all right, maybe in just a little bit. All right, hang tight. Join us on Facebook.com if you want to find out about that conversation. It's Facebook.com/913. Hello.
Tits.
Hey.
It's okay. We were going to ask you about pausability.
Right.
Yeah, on air.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Did you not want to tell us about pause?
No, I can.
Okay.
Are we on air right now?
No, we're on Facebook.
Oh, hi, Facebook. I'm confused at where I am. Hello.
You're in Singapore. You're in the 91.3 studio.
So we just want to point out to everyone tuning in on our Facebook Live, jump in. If you have any questions, you have any comments, share it with us in our comment section on our Facebook Live. And it could just win you this $100 shopping voucher from Audio House.
Yeah.
It's very nice indeed.
Want to say good morning to Jesslyn Liao, who says, what makes me happier is my pre-dawn brisk walk along the PCN, because we're asking people, what's one habit incorporated every day that makes you happier? Yeah. And she says, my pre-dawn brisk walk along the PCN is my me time. I've got my headphones tuned into 1FM 91.3 to keep me company as well.
Wow, I should try that out.
Yeah.
It's such
Us
a great way to
listening to
get
ourselves.
some. Yeah, no, you just, have your me time that way, listen to your music, put your earphones in, and then you just go on a walk. Sounds great.
Yeah.
I like this idea.
How does, that brings me to the question, how does, equine therapy help you as a counselor, Cathy?
Oh, sometimes now that's a great question, because sometimes I feel like, oh my gosh, I get in the way of the therapy because I love horses. And so I have to intentionally back up and let the client and the horse have their interactions. If not, I'm all like, oh, come here, and it's like, oh my gosh, step back, girl. But I think, I grew up with horses, and being in Singapore I've been here 23 years, hard to believe, but, there's not a lot of horse interaction that I've had since I've been here up until I started doing this work. And so I think for me, it's so wonderful. Like yesterday, I remember I went out, and some people are like, ooh, the smell. I love the smell. I love the smell of the stables. I love the smell of the hay, the horses, even the poop. I love it. It's automatically this sense of calm. And for me, maybe it's getting connected to my roots. I'm a Texas cowgirl, and it's like, oh my gosh, this is just where I belong. So I think for me, it brings a sense of calm. And the same thing that the clients are experiencing is that connection. I'm very connected to the horses. I'll go out early before my session, and I'll go and connect with the 4 or 5 horses that I work with and just say hello and be with them for a little bit of time. And then when I have time, even when I'm not having sessions, maybe I'll go out and spend time with the horses, because it's really important that I connect with them, because so that they feel safe. Because then if I bring in someone that has, high anxiety, the horse needs to know that they're safe with me, that they can connect to that.
Wow. So how did you first get into equine therapy? I mean, when was the first instance that you heard of it?
Oh, I've heard of it for many, many years, because they're doing this work in other countries, the U.S., what am I trying to say? Europe, all over Europe, Australia. It's very big. And so when I lived in the U.S., I already was doing writing for disabled, volunteering for that. When I moved to Singapore 23 years ago, I was volunteering with RDA. So I already knew some forms of equine therapy. And then when I was the clinical director of Dayspring Residential Treatment Center, and we were doing a program with Equal Arc that does equine-assisted learning. So there's different forms of equine therapy. There's equine-assisted learning, where you are, learning different skills, maybe like communication, boundaries, and incorporating a horse into that. So they had a program there where we were taking the girls from Dayspring, and I thought, this is cool. And then when I left Dayspring, they had asked me to come and be like a clinical supervisor there and do some training. And so anyway, I went there. I would go out there a couple of days a week, and I thought, wow, I want to go deeper in this because trauma is my thing. And so I found a program in the U.S. that trains in the trauma-focused equine-assisted therapy, so called Natural Lifemanship. And so I just thought, I'm doing it. And at the time, I had a friend that had a horse. She said, you can use my horse. And so I went and got trained, and it took me about 4 years to actually get certified.
Wow.
Oh, wow. So you went back to the States for 4 years for the training, or how
For
does it
different
work?
trainings, and then online consultation, supervision, and then, of course, practicing at the same time. And so, when I found that program in the U.S., I thought, this is it. This resonates. I mean, it's so beautiful. It brings in my love of horses and my love of doing therapy work, and it just intermingles.
It's like it's all meant to be.
It's meant to be.
Gosh. All right, we're headed back on air for our final chat with Cathy. Oh, for a while there, I thought it was Bruce Horsby.
Oh,
The song is Bruce Hornsby.
You thought I was Bruce Hornsby?
No, I thought the song was Bruce Horsby. We're talking about horses all morning. All I can see is horse right now.
well, he wishes he was Bruce Horsby.
Cathy Livingston. Bruce Horsby. No, it's Bruce Hornsby and the Range with The Way It Is here on 1FM 91.3. All about horses this morning as we chat with Cathy Livingston, who's a Singapore-based counselor and psychotherapist for youth and adults, and she deals with equine therapy. All about horses this morning. We're learning so much about the different things you can do to treat, issues or problems that you've had from childhood or trauma just by being around horses. Such beautiful work you're doing, Cathy.
So we want to find out more about these sessions. It's really intriguing. How long do each of these sessions last? And normally, on average, how many sessions will it take before you see an improvement in an individual?
Yeah, that's a good. So my sessions are about 75 minutes, a little bit over an hour. Because, it just takes time. And like I said, we're just working on that connection. So how many sessions? I can't even say. I have some clients that just maybe come out for 3 or 4, and some that are there I've worked with for over a year. I mean, every week. So it really varies from case to case. But I would say, you definitely need more than one because the first one is just introduction. And that's exactly what it is. I'll take a client around and introduce them to several different horses. I don't pick the horse, they pick their horse.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Or does the horse pick them?
Yeah.
That's so true. Sometimes the horse does.
Yeah.
In fact, I've had clients that I'll introduce them to I had one girl that, I introduced to all the horses that I work with, and none of them kind of, I guess, bonded with her, or she didn't feel connected or whatever, for whatever reasons. And then she said, what about this one? And it's not one I had ever worked with.
Oh.
And I'm like, I don't know. But that's the one we worked with. And we just slowly built a relationship. And it was really cool. So the client picks the horse picks the client. And there are reasons. There's also, again, a therapeutic conversation there of, what made you pick this horse? What is it?
Yeah.
Some people will say, because I feel like he's sad and he needs me. Or I feel like, he responded to me and he sees me. He hears me, right? That right there is a lot of information.
Yeah.
I can see how, your sessions, with the horse, providing that sort of like platform for the discussion is, a lot easier than you're in a therapy room on the couch and they're being asked questions and clamping up. Whereas from the observation, just, how they are with the horse, you can get so much of it. I love this.
It's so true. And I think a lot of times, you asked previously, like, what kind of clientele? And I think one thing is sometimes talk therapy is not the thing for people. They're just like, this is awkward. Or maybe they maybe it's a young person, especially a teenager, that doesn't really talk much. And so it's an experiential therapy. They don't have to talk at all, honestly. I'm fine with that. Let's just go groom the horse. Let's go for some walks. And so I think if traditional talk therapy has not worked, this is another avenue, animal-assisted therapy.
Okay. That's great. How much does each session typically cost?
My fee is about $220. It's about $220 a session.
Okay.
Yeah,
All
it's
right.
Horses are expensive, right?
Yeah, no, but it's. I mean, therapy does cost a lot
It
sometimes,
does.
you know. And we're talking about
Yeah.
inner work;
Yeah.
it's priceless.
Yeah.
So, thank you so much for joining us. Where can people find you? Where can they, website?
The Polo Club.
Yeah,
No, they
on your socials, your
Yeah.
website.
My website is livingstoncounseling.com.
Mm-hmm.
That's not with an E on the end. It's not Livingstone.
Yeah.
Livingston.
Okay.
Counseling.com.
All right, so people can find all the information about you
They
and
can.
your courses and
Yeah.
on your website. Okay, great.
And I do believe we can also find you on Instagram at Livingston Cathy.
Yeah, actually, that's not Instagram, although I need to set one up. That's Facebook.
Oh, Facebook.
Yeah.
Okay, so Facebook.com.
Sorry, I need to get up with the times and do an Instagram
Nah,
as well.
it's fine. So Facebook.com/Livingston Cathy.
Yes.
All right, we'll find you there as well.
All
Sounds
right.
good.
Thank you so much for joining us this morning, Cathy.
Thank
All the
you.
best. We might surprise you one day at the Polo Club.
Come on. Hey, I've done a radio interview at the Polo Club.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Okay. We might take you up on that one as well.
Come on.
It's the Brightside.
Good times, greatest hits.
1FM 91.3. Good times.
Greatest hits.
1FM
Thanks everyone for joining
91.3.
us on Facebook this morning. We hope you enjoyed our chat with Cathy Livingston without the E. You know where to find her, the Polo Club, but she's not